Even one child dying from malnutrition is honestly one child too many. Just seeing that child gain weight, seeing that child turn that corner, seeing a sick child give you that first high five, there's literally no better feeling. I think we have enough people, more people actually that are good, more people that care than we do people who don't. And I think we just need to find each other and pull people along, and I think we'll be just fine.
A human being is extraordinary, a perfect machine that can achieve it all. But a South African, now we are exceptional. We have broken boundaries. We have fought for freedom. Just like you, Profmed is proudly South African and stands behind each professional striving to make a difference.
Today we're in the beautiful mother city with another We Are South African story. And this time we'll be meeting Dr. Lesego Ndhlovu, a phenomenal pediatrician who spends majority of her time making sure her patients are healthy and happy. But she also spends a lot of her time looking after malnourished children in South Africa. Let's go hear her story. Thank you so much. I know we've moved your whole office around and now there's cameras and there's lights and there's all sorts of things, but I think South Africa needs to know your story. I think the work that you're doing in South Africa is absolutely phenomenal. And pediatrics, how did you find yourself in this position?
Oh, I love children. I love children very much. So I think I knew quite early on in my medical studies that I wanted to work with children. It was for me quite obvious as soon as I started working with children that this is the path for me. I worked in the Northwest province in Mafikeng, and on call I noticed a lot of children came in very malnourished. And I started to notice that some of the kids actually came from an orphanage, which confused me a little bit because I think these kids eating every day, how can they be malnourished? So my assumption was that this orphanage was dilapidated. So I went to go visit the orphanage, and it was actually a really beautiful orphanage run by a really wonderful woman who was very passionate about these children. And we brought some of the staff from the hospital to come and have a look, and the dietitian went into the kitchen and we realized that there was just no awareness of appropriate infant and childhood feeding, and so that for me was quite a very pivotal moment in my, I would say, life course, a life path to being here, because that was, I think, where my passion for childhood malnutrition really began. And then I sort of realized that the problem is a bit bigger, deeper, and just needs just a more holistic approach, other than just sort of feeding a child.
So it's kind of like having two jobs, right? Because you're doing your private practice and you're doing state at the same time. And then you've got a third job because you started a charity. Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit about the charity.
Yeah, it's an organization called Marotori Outreach, which means droplets. If I look at the last sort of numbers in terms of childhood stunting under 5, it's a child who's sort of short for their age or their height is low for their age. It's like 27% South African children who are stunted, and even one child dying from malnutrition is honestly one child too many. And the numbers that we've seen in our organization are certainly, you have more than 20% of the children we've identified have some form of malnutrition.
What two communities do you work in?
So we are in Motsoaledi, which is an informal settlement in Soweto, and that was our first site. We've been there since 2017, and then we started in Tembisa last year. We alternate between the two sites, and we literally go there, weigh the children, measure the children, and then you can actually plot their growths on their respective growth charts. So any growth faltering of any kind or concerning history in terms of what you're eating, even the slightest deviation from normal, we are quite aggressive with the rehabilitation. And then we have rehabilitation fortified foods that we give to all our children who are struggling. And then we follow them up. We contact the caregivers each time we come back. We actually have a database with all our kids, and we call them back when we're coming, and we make sure that they are catching up their growth. And I think we are really proud that about 87% of our kids have caught up their growth. For a long time we were self-funded, so literally friends and family, bathroom scales from local pharmacy, and then last year we got our first big grant from the Queen's Commonwealth Trust, and that's been huge for us. We have our first employee, which is awesome. We've gone digital, so that's been a huge relief for us, and it's really helped us expand on our work. We still rely a lot on donations and sponsorship and things like that.
If you don't find this at an early enough stage, what are sort of some of the symptoms and effects that malnutrition could have on a kid?
If you rehabilitate that child before their second birthday, they can actually catch up their full growth potential. And we talk mostly about their linear growth, so that's their height. If they don't catch up their height, they become stunted. Later on, they can become obese. They can have hypertension, cardiovascular problems. What they gain becomes essentially not real muscle mass, and then will have much longer term effects on their metabolic state, but also cognition. These kids will struggle in school, these children will have anemia,
so we need to catch it early.
Just need to catch it early. You know, if they have the acute malnutrition, they could die.
And in the time that the organization has existed, how many kids have run through the program?
Yeah, so we have performed over 1,000 screens on nearly 500 children since 2017.
I've got a big lump in my throat because the project is so much bigger than just nutrition. It's care and love. Let me ask you, what is one of the stories that has stuck with you?
Just last weekend, another little girl who also had lost quite a bit of weight, and then our team saw her. When I happened to have seen her on Saturday, and she's literally gone up on the growth chart. So it's just kudos to the caregivers as well to like really just keep pushing through, despite some of the failures, you know, of the health system. So this is a growth chart. So this is a girl's growth chart because she's a girl, and it's the weight for their length, the weight for their height. And I'll show you her weight for age chart. You know, this actually looks okay. Green is sort of the good line that you want. After our rehabilitation, she actually moved up the trajectory from where she was to just below the green to above the green. So she's since made a U-turn, and we are quite optimistic we'll get her back above the green.
So exciting to see, and I said like success, right?
Yeah, so she's actually a great example of catch-up growth. You know, she was not growing well, and then on subsequent visits, actually her growth is improving, and we have a catch-up growth rate of about 87.5%.
87.5%?
Yeah, of children who were diagnosed with some form of malnutrition, with the wasting at our outreaches are no longer wasted at subsequent visits.
What you're doing is making a difference. When we speak about when we see problems in the world, you're a human being, you're a South African that has got up and said, I'm going to fix that problem. And I think that's something we could all learn from. Do you ever feel that the need outweighs the help?
Yeah, I get a bit sad about it just because I feel it's a very easy to solve problem. You know, with the right knowledge, education, resources, and even just having some dietitians stationed at these clinics. You know, we don't have to wait for the children to be so severely malnourished that they end up at a tertiary institution, which is the case at the moment. Well, with the organization, I'm hoping, and I do believe that we're gonna enter more vulnerable communities. That's our dream. We'd love to be mobile, collaborate with other organizations, work with government a bit better. I really do believe we can eradicate malnutrition in children. So I'm hoping that one day soon that can be a reality.
You're a Profmed member.
Yeah.
How does that all fit in?
I've had a very positive experience with Profmed. I was unfortunately very unwell at the beginning of 2020, and you know, I remember once querying or freaking out about an account or something while I was in hospital, and the person on the other end of the customer care line was only interested in how I'm doing. She didn't say anything about the account. She told me not to worry about anything. And by the time I was eventually discharged, quite literally everything was covered, everything was paid for. And it was for me more just how she was like, just prioritize getting better. The rest of this will sort out, don't worry. So that was, I mean, not being admitted was horrible, but the experience with Profmed was very, very, very positive.
What message of hope would you sort of put out there for other South Africans?
Yeah, I mean, if I look at the organization, and you know, we're still quite small, but you know, just seeing that child gain weight, seeing that child turn that corner, seeing a sick child give you that first high five, there's literally no better feeling. And I think we need to cling on to those beautiful moments and just like not lose hope. I think we have enough people, more people actually that are good, more people that care than we do people who don't. And I think we just need to find each other and pull people along, and I think we'll be just fine.
Another incredible South African story, and one that reminds us that where there are problems, we can become the solutions. And sometimes that can lead us into our passion and our purpose.